Hello and welcome back to our fifth and final example of the evening. In this fifth example, we are told that WY is congruent to XZ, that WZ is perpendicular to, and that's what this little sign means, perpendicular to, is perpendicular to ZY, and that XY is again perpendicular to ZY. We want to ultimately prove that triangle WYZ is congruent to triangle XZY. Now you'll notice that I haven't put any of the congruence tick marks on this triangle. Whenever we have these overlapping triangles and there are subsections, segments to these bigger segments, I like to draw separate triangles to make sure that there is no confusion as to what is congruent. So let us label these accordingly. This would be W, X, Y, Z, and again, here we're going to have Z and Y because there is overlap there. So these two down here are the same segment. Okay, so it tells us that WY, that's this segment right here, is congruent to XZ. That's this segment right here. Then it also tells us that WZ is perpendicular to ZY. And perpendicular means intersecting at a right angle, at a 90-degree angle. So these right here, or this right here, is a 90-degree angle, a right angle. So then we go on to the next part. XY is perpendicular to ZY. So again, we are going to have another 90-degree or right angle. So since we have right angles right here, that means that we are working with right triangles. And if we're working with right triangles, then that means that we can use the special hypotenuse leg congruence theorem. And that works out great for us because we already have the set of hypotenuses congruent to each other. Now all we have to do is show that a set of legs is congruent and we'll be on our merry way. Well, if we notice at the beginning, this right here was that overlapping piece that we see right here. This ZY is the same in both triangles. Up here we would put a double bar on that and say that's by the reflexive property. And down here it's exactly the same if we want to use this picture instead. So this set of sides right here, this ZY, is congruent to ZY. So now all we need to do is put this in our two-column proof. So again, we start with the given. And there are three parts to the given: the congruence and the two perpendiculars. Now where we went from there in our picture was that we said that these here are 90-degree angles. So that's the next step in our proof. We're going to say that WZY is a right angle, and that's by the definition of perpendicular lines. And we're going to say that XYZ is a right angle, again, by the same definition. The last thing we want to show is that ZY is congruent to itself. And we've done this in almost every other proof today. ZY is congruent to ZY by the reflexive property. Since we have the set of hypotenuses and the set of legs, we can use the hypotenuse leg congruence theorem. And remember, this only works whenever we're dealing with right triangles. So since that qualification is met, here we go. Triangle WYZ is congruent to triangle XZY. and that is by the hypotenuse leg congruence theorem.